Hello everyone, this is the Skinny Fat Cat. In this video, I will teach you everything about science in Civilization 6. After this video, you will be able to easily outrun DT AI. Science is one of the most important aspects of the game. Let's keep it simple and not talk about all sorts of random stuff provided by technologies. If I have muskets you don't, you will die. If I have planes you don't, you will die. If I have nukes you don't, you will die. It's literally that simple. In order to not get killed or to kill someone, you need to unlock technologies. Quickly, in intense situations, if I unlock cavalries 3 turns earlier than you, I can use this 3 turns to break your line and win. So how do I unlock technologies quickly? The speed of you researching tech is dependent on your science per turn, which is this. With more of it, let's say from 6 to 8, you can research a tech that requires 24 science from 4 turns down to 3 turns. So it's all about increasing this number. But how? The following are the sources of science I often use as a 2000 hours player. You can apply these in almost every game you play. First of all, obviously, campuses and the buildings in it. Don't just place it at a random spot, place it near mountains, geothermal fissures, and reefs. Specifically, each mountain will provide +1, each reef and geothermal fissure provides +2. Placing 2 districts adjacent to the campus will provide additional +1 science, and additional +1 if one of those districts is government plaza. Therefore, you have to strategically plan out your campus placement to get maximum science. Be careful when you are planning to rely on rainforests for adjacency. Every 2 adjacent rainforests provide +1, but this source is unreliable as we will be chopping them in the future and the campus would become worthless. If you're unlucky enough to not have any of these near your spawn, you can do something like this. When the district is built, you can build buildings in that district. Libraries provide +2 science, additional +1 for each first envoy you send to a science city-state, and additional +1 if you get Great Person Hypatia. Universities provide +4, additional +2 for each third envoy you send to a science city-state, and additional +2 if you get Newton. Research labs provide +8, additional +3 from each 6th envoy you send to a science city-state, and additional +4 if you get Einstein. If you think that's everything on how you get science, then you're totally wrong. In fact, methods mentioned above will not even compose 30% of your total science if you fully optimize your science output. Each population provides +0.5 science passively. Pingala Governor provides 15% science boost to that city, and additional +1 science per population in that city with researcher promotion. You can double the adjacency of campuses with the policy natural history, and you can double the building's yields with rationalism, but with certain conditions. Fighting city-state and sending envoys increases yields of campus buildings, capital, and diplomatic quarter buildings. If 2 or more science city-state exist in your game, build the wonder Kyowa Kishiwani. Consider building Oxford University if your science is condensed in one city. It is not something I would build as it's often too expensive, but mathematically speaking it is often worth it. Keeping your amenities high could gain additional +10 and 20 for +3 and 5 amenities respectively. The last method is underrated or ignored by every player I have seen. When entering Golden Age in either classical or medieval era, you can choose free inquiry dedication. Making commercial hub and harbor adjacencies also provide science. This is a really strong source of science as it's much easier to have high adjacency commercial hubs than campuses, and you have additional gold as complement product. In addition, town charters policy doubles the adjacency of commercial hub, which includes the science. The Governor Reina with Harbor Master promotion also doubles the adjacency of commercial hub and harbor. Therefore, you can do something like this. Or you can enhance it like this. This commercial hub is providing +7 gold and science, doubled by town charters, +14 gold and science. Doubled again by the Governor Reina, this commercial hub alone can provide 28 science and 28 gold per turn. If you have another policy thought for double harbor adjacency, the harbor could also produce 16 science and 16 gold. That is 44 science and 44 gold per turn by this city, which could almost double your science and gold by this point of game. However, in order to perform this strategy, you need a medieval golden era and a leading culture to unlock those policies, making it extremely hard to perform. Oh, I will make videos on culture and era score in the future. Hit the like and sub button to get notified when I make those videos. The rest sources of science are either unstable, too insignificant, or too late into the game. Therefore, I will just quickly list them. You can always check the Civ fandom page if you're interested, link in description. Now, as you have understood what to build to max out your science output, don't just go and build the entire list. You also have to know when to build them. In fact, the best way to build for science is to not build for science. I know this is not making sense to you, let me explain. Fresh your mind and be prepared for some complicated stuff. I will try to keep it simple. This, science per turn, changes each turn as your empire progresses. If you record this number of each turn and put it into a graph, it briefly looks like this. The y-axis is science per turn, x-axis is number of turns. Now, with science per turn graph, we can get cumulative science produced graph. The y-axis in this graph represents the total science produced throughout the game, which is the sum of science per turn of every turn. For example, if your science per turn is 2, 3, and 4 for the turns 1, 2, 3 respectively, your cumulative science would be 0, 2, 5, 9. In turn 1, you didn't get anything from previous turn because they didn't exist. Your total science in bank is therefore 0. In turn 2, your bank gained 2 science from the production of the previous turn, so it's 2. In turn 3, you produce 2 science in turn 1, produce 3 science in turn 2, therefore you have 5. In turn 4, you already have 5 science in bank and got 4 from the previous turn, therefore the cumulative is 9. If you have studied calculus, then it would be straightforward. Cumulative science is the integral of science per turn, and science per turn is the derivative, aka the slope of cumulative science. For now, we call cumulative science produced as S of x, and science per turn as S prime x for simplicity. Since S of x is the total number of science produced, the technology research is directly reflected by this number, and therefore it's everything that really matters. For example, if I want to unlock cavalry and all prerequisite technologies, I need the following number of science. In total, that is 4723. If I put it into the S of x graph, I can know that I will unlock it at turn 110. In the S prime x graph, it looks like this. The value of S prime x is reflected by the number and quality of your science buildings. This number is also consistently increasing throughout the game, and its rate of increase is affected by your production per turn. Therefore, your production is essentially the second derivative of f of x, or the slope of S of x, and we call it S double prime x. With that, the curve looks roughly like this. Knowing the 3 components that form your science curve allows you to manipulate your investment and ultimately to unlock the technology you want quickly. I will illustrate the different effects of investments in each component. Let's say you got some free production in turn 1. You can invest those production in either S of x, S prime x, or S double prime x, which are equivalent to raw science, permanent science per turn, and permanent production per turn respectively. Let's see what's the effects on S-curve. I put on the science required to unlock horsemen, knights, and cavalry for reference. You can see them as short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals. If you invest into S of x, being raw science, the curve will increase like so. Since you are getting instant raw science, the progress on the tech tree is also instantaneous, completing the majority of horsemen's requirements and cut the turn required for it almost by half. In addition, it also slightly boosted the progress towards knights and cavalry. In general, it shifts the entire curve upward, and the effects are very significant in the early game, but less significant in the late game. Now, let's see what will happen if we invest into S prime x, being science per turn. The investment shifts the S prime x graph entirely upwards, and for S of x graph, it looks like this. Instead of increasing the entire curve, it steepens the curve and boosts the midterm and long-term progress significantly. However, the boost towards short-term goal is less significant. Therefore, investing into science per turn takes time to get returned, but the return scales up as time progresses. Investing into production per turn gives you no return in tech tree in early game. The return becomes visible in midterm, and in the industrial era, the science boost provided by production far exceeds any other type of investment, and still with strong momentum. And by the end game, the return provided by production investment is already tripled of the return from science per turn investment. You now know what and when to invest. Great. But how can I invest into the three components? Simple. To invest into S double prime x, which is production, builders, and settlers. They are the most efficient method to convert production into more production. For more details, I will make a video on production in the future. To invest into S prime x, build things I introduced earlier in the video. To invest into S of x or raw science, just complete the Eureka quests. Completing a Eureka instantly research that technology by 40%, which is equivalent to instant raw science. If you are super confused and have no idea what I am talking about, try to watch it again. If you still can't understand it, it's fine. Just remember, build for production in the early game. The return will ultimately allow you to build more science buildings later. In the mid-game, build for science to actually gain the scientific advantage. In the late game, allocate your production into doing Eureka quests. Science buildings take time to return in investment, and the game would already end by then. Note that the thoughts and instructions in this video are generic and would apply in most circumstances. However, there definitely are exceptions. If you see a nice +6 campus in the early game, go ahead and build it ASAP. But following this video should in general get you onto the right track. By this point, you have mastered science and know what to do to optimize your science. I can understand that the format of this video is complicated, especially for ones who haven't studied calculus. However, I could not find another better way to fully explain this concept. I hope that I have made it simple enough for everyone to understand, but math is never easy. If you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe for more contents.